wondering what it means to both of you and how that informs where you're coming from with your political work.
Yeah, if you want to go first, Bruce.
Go ahead.
Oh yeah. So like me personally, like I'd say politically I'm a libertarian, but I mean that specifically in just the party that I vote for when I participate in election politics. I vote for the Libertarian Party. But my personal politics is I am an anarchist. I consider myself a volunteerist, which just means that I believe you can do pretty much any consenting adults can do whatever they want as long as everyone in the group agrees to it and can pull their consent out at any point. So that applies both directions. If someone wants an anarcho-capitalist village where as long as everyone consents to it, that's fine. But at the same time, if 100 people want to get together and say, hey, we're going to go be communists over here, as long as everyone agrees, that's great too. So that's kind of like the whole idea of volunteerism is just, you know, everything is based upon consent and your ability to withdraw your consent at any time. So that's my version of anarchism.
I think a lot of people who are libertarians or claim to be or are voting for Libertarian Party people, they don't understand that the roots of libertarian is anarchism. I mean, it basically is derived from anarchism because of the lack of a centralized government. And, you know, there is a libertarian socialism, which basically is, again, decentralized with a lot of local control over things. And I think that one of the things that Magnus puts out on his Twitter account is that, by the way, it was really a stupid idea for Facebook to deplatform you and send you over here because this is where all the leftists are. So you found a really quick home.
Yeah.
It would have been better off leaving you on Facebook. But just like with the Reddit people, when they came over here and got all these people. But yeah, so I think that you know, libertarianism as a party, but and in practice are really like two different things. But I think the commonality is with socialism, and you know, what I'm probably veering toward where Misty is, which is more like anarcho-communism, which is basically we don't need the state, we can work around it and take care of each other.
Absolutely, and I'm exactly in the middle of. I find both of those are perfectly valid and acceptable, and I don't see any like I hate the anarcho-capitalist, anarcho-communist wars that I feel like they don't exist. Because if you're an actual anarchist, then you don't care what anyone else does as long as nobody's telling you what to do and nobody's rights are being stomped on. So like, why are you fighting? You in reality you should perfectly be able to coexist.
Yeah, there's people can't understand things unless you label it. I mean, labels are for soup cans as far as I'm concerned. You know,
and frankly, the fact that we're having a conversation about capitalism versus communism when we haven't even dealt with the oppressive government is baffling to me. Like that isn't even a conversation we can have yet. Like we can't have any conversation about what it comes next until we deal with what we're in now. And you know, we have to be able to deal with the system in which we find ourselves now. And that's, you know, been really part of the reason why I've been so interested in this controversy is that it seems like there's a concerted effort to keep people from talking amongst themselves, even when they have disagreements. And something I've seen on Twitter is that there are people who haven't even watched, they will admit they haven't even watched the Jimmy Dore interview, who are calling you a Nazi and a fascist. And it's this really weird. These are grown-ass adults.
And I always use the analogy. It's like we're in like an underwater like glass tank, and someone just poked a hole in it, and you got two people in there, and it's like, hey, you know, I would be the third person, like, hey, we should plug that hole. And then the two people are like, we're not plugging that hole until you agree with me that Medicare for all is the best. And then the other person will be like, well, we're not plugging that hole until we reduce taxes. And they argue and argue until the whole fish tank is filled up and they're drowning, strangling each other while arguing. It's like, that's why, you know, I even put that tweet out of like, I'm not interested in arguing over moral and economic theory. I am here saying that everything is going to hell. People are dying. There's wars everywhere. People are locked in prison that don't belong there. If you can't put aside your differences and march together to fight this now under this system, then I have no reason to believe that you're going to be willing to do that under your preferred utopia. If you won't stand now, then you're not going to stand under socialism. If you won't stand now, then you're not going to stand under anarchy. You're just you don't want to solve the problem until you get your way, which is a really weird kind of like position of privilege.
That's a great way to put it, because you see it happening out there right now on Twitter with people that were like, you know, comrades in arms. It's like all of a sudden, wait, you want to talk to him? It's like, yeah.
Yes, and here's why. Here's why I want to talk to Magnus. I have seen videos of the Boogaloo Boys putting their bodies on the line for my comrades, and I'm okay with that.
We have casualties too. We have people that have been maimed. Garrett Foster, the big example. Garrett Foster literally fucking died protecting BLM protesters. Shot and killed protecting BLM protesters. The igloo that's half ANCAP, half, you know, communist, that's on my banner on Twitter, that was the last thing he shared out before he died. So his literal dying wish was us to stop fighting each other and come together. So the fact that like months later he's slandered as a white supremacist, even though he was married to a you know, quadriplegic black woman, and he was at BLM protesters providing security, but now he's a white nationalist. It's like,
yes,
you're fucking kidding me.
I mean, Orwellian is too cliche, and it's beyond Orwellian at this point.